Добрий день.
Доброго дня, Тетяна Васильівна. Я думаю, вам треба перейменувати українською мовою. Шановні члени разової спеціалізованої вченої ради, шановні присутні, відповідно до пункту 4 порядку присудження ступеня доктора філософії та скасування рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради закладу вищої освіти наукової установи про присудження доктора філософії затвердженого постановою Кабінету міністрів України від 8 січня 2022 року номер 44 та на підставі рішення вченої ради Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького від 8.12.23 року, протокол номер 6, утворена разова спеціалізована вчена рада Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького з правом прийняття до розгляду та проведення разового захисту дисертації Рудковської Альони Михайлівни на тему формування міжкультурної компетентності учнів закладів загальної середньої освіти як активних громадян згуртованого суспільства на уроках англійської мови. На здобуття ступеня доктора філософії з галузі знань, освіта, педагогіка, спеціальності 011 освітні педагогічні науки. Склад разової спеціалізованої вченої ради. Голова ради Осадча Катерина Петрівна, доктор педагогічних наук, професор кафедри інформатики і кібернетики Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького. Рецензенти: Шевченко Юлія Михайлівна, доктор педагогічних наук, професор кафедри початкової спеціальної освіти Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького. Гончарова Ольга Анатоліївна, кандидат педагогічних наук, доцент кафедри методики викладання германських мов Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького. Опоненти: Заболотна Оксана Адольфівна, доктор педагогічних наук, професор кафедри іноземних мов Уманського державного педагогічного університету імені Павла Тичини. Нацюк Мар'яна Богданівна, кандидат педагогічних наук, доцент кафедри міжкультурної комунікації та соціально-гуманітарних дисциплін Дніпровського гуманітарного університету. Шановні члени спеціалізованої ради, нам необхідно підтвердити свою присутність голосом. Таким чином, я, Осадча Катерина Петрівна, голова разової спеціалізованої ради, присутня. Будь ласка, інші, спочатку рецензенти, а потім опоненти. Оксана Адольфівна.
Я, Заболотна Оксана Адольфівна, на засіданні ради присутня.
Мар'яна Богданівна.
Я, Нацюк Мар'яна Богданівна, на засіданні ради присутня.
Юлія Михайлівна. Мікрофон.
Я, Шевченко Юлія Михайлівна, на засіданні спеціалізованої вченої ради присутня.
Ольга Анатоліївна.
Я, Гончарова Ольга Анатоліївна, на засіданні спеціалізованої вченої ради присутня.
На засіданні присутні всі 5 членів ради, 3 доктори педагогічних наук та 2 кандидати педагогічних наук. Враховуючи повну присутність, кворум є, і ми можемо починати засідання. Засідання разової спеціалізованої вченої ради оголошую відкритим. Згідно з постановою Кабінету міністрів України від 12 січня 2022 року номер 44 порядку присудження ступеня доктора філософії та скасування рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради закладу вищої освіти наукової установи про присудження ступеня доктора філософії, члени разової ради, здобувачі можуть брати участь у засіданні разової ради за допомогою засобів відеозв'язку в режимі реального часу. Наш заклад освіти забезпечує можливість використання засобів відеозв'язку, тому сьогодні наше засідання проходить саме у такому режимі. На порядку денному одне питання – захист дисертаційної роботи Рудковської Альони Михайлівни на тему формування міжкультурної компетентності учнів закладів загальної середньої освіти як активних громадян згуртованого суспільства на уроках англійської мови, на здобуття ступеня доктора філософії з галузі знань, освіта, педагогіка, спеціальності 011 освітні педагогічні науки. Науковий керівник Коноваленка Тетяна Василівна, кандидат педагогічних наук, доцент кафедри методики викладання германських мов, проректор з наукової інноваційної роботи та міжнародної співпраці Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького. Дисертаційна робота виконана в Мелітопольському державному педагогічному університеті імені Богдана Хмельницького. Чи будуть якісь зауваження або пропозиції до порядку денного?
Починати. Є пропозиція
Немає.
починати.
Хто за те, щоб затвердити порядок денний, прошу підняти руку. Хто за? Утримався? Проти? Немає. Всі за. Приймається одноголосно. Дозвольте довести до наукової спільноти відомості про здобувачку. Рудковська Альона Михайлівна народилась 13 серпня 1991 року у місті Нікополь Дніпропетровської області. У 2013 році закінчила Запорізький інститут економіки та інформаційних технологій за спеціальністю міжнародна економіка та здобула кваліфікацію магістра. У 2018 році закінчила Мелітопольський державний педагогічний університет імені Богдана Хмельницького за спеціальністю мова та література англійська та здобула кваліфікацію магістра. У 2019 році закінчила Мелітопольський державний педагогічний університет імені Богдана Хмельницького за спеціальністю психологія, практична психологія та здобула кваліфікацію магістра. У 2019 році вступила до аспірантури Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького на освітньо-наукову програму підготовки здобувачів 3-го освітньо-наукового рівня вищої освіти у галузі знань, освіта, педагогіка, спеціальності 011, освітні педагогічні науки. Освітньо-наукову програму виконала у повному обсязі. Тема дисертації затверджена на засіданні вченої ради Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького, протокол номер 9 від 18.12.2019 року. Уточнена на засіданні вченої ради Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького, протокол номер 14 від 15.04.2021 року. Основні матеріали дисертаційної роботи опубліковані у 22 публікаціях, 5 статей у фахових виданнях з педагогічних наук, 11 публікацій у збірниках матеріалів міжнародних науково-практичних конференцій, 1 у зарубіжній монографії, 3 публікації у збірнику наукових статей для студентів і аспірантів Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького, що додатково відображають наукові результати дослідження, 2 статті у зарубіжних виданнях, що індексуються у наукометричних базах даних. 17 листопада 2023 року на засіданні кафедри педагогіки дисертації Рудковської Альони Михайлівни на тему формування міжкультурної компетентності учнів закладів загальної середньої освіти як активних громадян згуртованого суспільства на уроках англійської мови була рекомендована до захисту. 8 грудня 2023 року протокол номер 6 вченою радою Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького ухвалено рішення про створення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради з правом прийняття до розгляду та проведення разового захисту дисертації Рудковської Альони Михайлівни за спеціальністю 011 освітні педагогічні науки. Далі щодо документів нашої здобувачки. В особовій справі Рудковської Альони Михайлівни є всі необхідні документи, що подаються до разової спеціалізованої вченої ради. Письмова заява здобувачки, копія першої сторінки паспорту громадянина України, копія диплома магістра, витяг з наказу про зарахування до аспірантури, академічна довідка про виконання освітньо-наукової програми, висновок наукового керівника, висновок про наукову новизну, теоретичне і практичне значення результатів дисертації. Дисертація у друкованому та електронному вигляді, копії наукових публікацій, зарахованих за темою дисертації. Дисертація до захисту подається вперше, усі документи оформлено належним чином і відповідають вимогам, затвердженим постановою Кабінету міністрів України від 12 січня 2022 року, номер 44, порядку присудження ступеня доктора філософії та скасування рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради закладу вищої освіти наукової установи про присудження ступеня доктора філософії. Чи будуть якісь зауваження щодо поданих документів? Немає.
Немає зауважень.
Дякую. Наразі нам необхідно погодити мову, якою буде здійснюватися захист дисертації. Альона Михайлівна, якою мовою ви маєте бажання захищатися?
Англійською.
So, the floor is given to the applicant, Альона Михайлівна Рудковська, to report on the main provision of the dissertation. You are welcome. The timing is up to 20 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. Just a second, please. Going to start my presentation. Tell me, please, do you see the presentation on the screen? Yes? Dear members of the one-time Specialized Scientific Council, dear attendees, I'm honored to present my dissertation entitled Formation of Intercultural Competence of School Students as Active Citizens of Cohesive Society at the English Lessons for the award of the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of education, pedagogy, specialty 011, educational pedagogical sciences. As globalization increases, there is a growing focus on cultural self-determination among people and ethnic groups worldwide. This is happening alongside rapid changes in science, technology, economy, and social communications. There is an expanding interaction between different cultures and education systems, highlighting the importance of developing cultural competence in the youth. Preparing the younger generation for life in a multicultural society is a priority for major international organizations. Education that expands a student's worldview and cultural connection to fit the open world model is increasingly necessary, aligning with both Ukrainian traditions and international standards. The current higher education system often focuses on past cultural dominance, like rationalism and utilitarianism. There is an urgent need for education models that match the modern cultural landscape and the new phase of civilization development. Education should return to its fundamental cultural roots, seen as cultural compatible system and cultural creating process. Traditionally based on natural and scientific methods, humanitarian education must now adapt to sociocultural realities, employing humanistic methods and focusing on integration, dialogue, personal orientation, values, and spiritual foundations. The dissertation work was carried out in accordance with the thematic plan of scientific research works of the Department of Pedagogy and Pedagogical Mastery and the Department of Teaching Methods of German Languages of Bogdan Khmelnytsky Melitopol State Pedagogical University. It is a component of the topics the improvement of the quality of higher pedagogical foreign language education as a result of reflection in the study process and training of future specialists of pedagogical education in conditions of educational transformations. The topic of the study was approved and specified by the Academic Council of Bogdan Khmelnytsky Melitopol State Pedagogical University. The object of the dissertation research is the educational process of teaching English language in the 9th, 11th grades, integral with the process of forming intercultural competence in the conditions of a cohesive society in comprehensive schools. The subject of this study is the pedagogical conditions of the process of forming the intercultural competence of 9th, 11th grade school students as active citizens of cohesive society in the process of teaching English language. The aim of the research is to develop and experimentally test pedagogical conditions and a didactic model of the process of formation of intercultural competence of comprehensive school students as active citizens of cohesive society in the process of mastering the English language. Objectives were defined to find out the degree of development of the investigated issue in the pedagogical, linguistic, and didactic literature, to study regulatory documents regarding the educational process, to analyze current school programs and textbooks of English language, according to which teaching in comprehensive schools is organized, to determine the content and structure of intercultural competence, its role in the system of teaching foreign language, on the basis of which to develop pedagogical conditions and a didactic model of intercultural competence, to substantiate the pedagogical, psychological, and psycholinguistic features of the formation of intercultural competence of comprehensive school students, to find out the role of interdisciplinary connections of the subject foreign language with other school disciplines in the formation of linguistic and foreign language competence as a component of intercultural competence of comprehensive school students, to build a model of the process of forming intercultural competence of comprehensive school students as active citizens of cohesive society, substantiating its content and structure, to experimentally verify the effectiveness of the pedagogical conditions and the model of the process of formation of intercultural competence of comprehensive school students as active citizens of cohesive society. The following methods were used to achieve the objective: theoretical analysis, synthesis, comparison, generalization, and systematization of the scientific literature on pedagogy, didactics, psychology, psycholinguistics, linguistics, methods of teaching foreign language. analysis of pedagogical experience of schools, linguistic didactic analysis of the teaching material of English language textbooks for the 9th, 10th, and 11th grades of comprehensive schools, survey of comprehensive school students in order to determine the areas of their cognitive interests and motives for learning a foreign language, system comparative analysis of program country studies material contained in the content of educational courses of various subjects based on the material of Great Britain. Ascertain an experiment to determine the level of academic knowledge of students of the 9th, 10th, 11th grades of a comprehensive school. Modeling, formative experiment aimed at testing the effectiveness of the proposed model of the process of forming intercultural competence of comprehensive school students as active citizens of cohesive society, mathematical processing and analysis of the obtained results of the experiment. The research offers a first-time textbook systematizing of educational material with a country studies focus using Great Britain as an example across various school subjects. It establishes the content and significance of inter-subject connections between the subject of English and others, highlighting their role in developing students' intercultural competence. A didactic model of intercultural competence is created, outlining a structured system of knowledge, abilities, and skills. Presents a new model of cultivating comprehensive school students' intercultural competence, aligning it with being active citizens in a cohesive society. The model integrates factors such as societal cohesion, modern foreign language learning goals, the integration of language learning process, students' age, educational motives, interests, and active civic engagement. The proposed model aims to improve foreign language education, making it more practical and relevant. It creates the right educational environment for students to develop an active public stance and tolerance towards other cultures, addresses the contemporary historical and socioeconomic need for intercultural competence as a goal of foreign language learning. A compiled table of country-specific information on Great Britain spanning multiple school subjects will streamline English classes and allow for the inclusion of additional sociocultural content. The use of such tables encourages independent and creative student activities. This approach can be applied to all foreign languages taught in Ukrainian schools. Recommendations from the research can assist in the development of educational programs and the preparation of textbooks for foreign languages, as well as in choosing texts for language lessons. We will report on our outcomes and conclusions in connection with our objectives. The level of development of intercultural competence have been thoroughly investigated in pedagogical, linguistic, and didactic literature. Research in the field of pedagogy has highlighted the significance of citizenship education for comprehensive school students and the need to enhance program and methodological support for this process based on a cultural approach. Linguistic studies have focused on the integration of educational content through interdisciplinary connections, problem-thematic organization of communication, and the strengthening of sociocultural and citizenship aspects in language teaching. Didactic research has explored the pedagogical and psychological and pedagogical principles for constructing models of intercultural competence, emphasizing the importance of citizenship in the formation of this competence. The theoretical analysis of models of communicative competence and the interpretation of intercultural competence as the ability to consciously take into account the knowledge of the cultural and social context of the country in the process of foreign language communication made it possible to distinguish intercultural competence as a separate component of communicative competence and consider it as a complete system, which includes country studies competence, linguistic country studies competence, social linguistic competence, interrelated and mutually determined by the purpose and tasks of real communication with native speakers as well as civic competence. Determination of the content and role of those components of intercultural competence in the system of foreign language learning based on the communicative activity approach as well as social linguistic and psycholinguistic prerequisites for the formation of intercultural competence motivated its didactic structure. Intercultural competence is an integrative education that includes knowledge of language system and theoretical information about language units, country studies and background knowledge, the ability to correlate language means with the purpose and conditions of communication with the communicative and speech situation, the ability to organize speech communication taking into account the social norms of behavior accepted by native speakers, the ability to use linguistic means in accordance with the national determined specifics of their use, as well as in our studies civic skills, namely, communicate effectively, apply models of behavior characteristic of a high culture of intergroup and interpersonal relations, overcome stereotypes, militant nationalism, racism, and intolerance, recognize and accept diversity, compromise with different ethnic and religious groups for the sake of social peace. Listen to, understand, and interpret other people's arguments, consider alternatives of action and behavior, and subject them to analysis from an ethical point of view. To develop a decision-making strategy, taking into account the norms and values of civic society in difficult situations of personal and public life. Make a conscious choice, apply democratic technologies for making individual and collective decisions, taking into account one's own interests, the interests and needs of other citizens, representatives of certain community, society, and the state. Think critically and independently. Critically perceive information, in particular regarding ways of thinking and philosophical, religious, social, political, and cultural concepts. Independently analyze and apply it. To formulate, express, and publicly defend one's own position. To actively conduct a discussion in defense of one's point of view. The pedagogical, psychological, and psycholinguistic features of formation of intercultural competence of comprehensive school students as active citizens of a cohesive society at the English lessons have been substantiated, and it has been revealed that school students should deepen their country-specific knowledge, moving from general encyclopedic information to specific, socially and culturally conditioned knowledge. This approach aims at fostering a comprehensive understanding of the country whose language has been studied, and real intercultural communication, tolerant behavior, overcoming communication difficulties, recognizing the value of the human being as the highest social value, respecting individual rights and freedoms and the law, aspiring to social justice, equality, and maintaining an active and responsible civic stance. Presenting of extralinguistic information through conversational topics in foreign language education, divided into thematic blocks focusing on the student's environment, Ukraine, and the country whose language is studied, emphasizing encyclopedic information. The thematic organization may not fully support real-life communication or active engagement, often leading to passive learning and insufficient mental activity among students. Shift towards a problem-thematic approach for presenting country studies and sociocultural information relevant to student ages, communicative needs, and interests. This method encourages active learning, analysis, and personal engagement with the material. Problem-based topics foster a personal connection to the material, motivating speech activity and deeper assimilation of sociocultural knowledge, essential for intercultural communication. Emotional engagement with content enhances memory and understanding. Educational programs and textbooks should integrate communication-oriented problems within conversational topics to stimulate more effective learning and application of knowledge in diverse communicative scenarios. An important factor in the intercultural competence of comprehensive school students and the model of its formation is integrability, one of the manifestations of which is a didactic focus on the intersubjective connections of foreign language with other educational subjects, especially in relation to historical, country studies, and sociocultural information. However, the modern practice of teaching foreign language, the quality of the use of interdisciplinary connections in it, do not provide a sufficient level of country studies competence as evidenced by the conducted testing of school students of of the 9th grade. In 9th, 11th grades, there should be a deepening of country studies and sociocultural knowledge, a transition from general encyclopedic to specific, socially and culturally conditioned knowledge, with an orientation to the most complete image of one's country and the country whose language has been studied, and real intercultural communication in the conditions of a multicultural environment. The experimental verification and proof of the effectiveness of implementing pedagogical conditions and the didactic model for the formation of intercultural competence of comprehensive school students as active citizens of a cohesive society at the English lessons have been carried out. The experimental testing of the proposed model has shown that its implementation in the educational process will contribute to the systemic formation of intercultural competence in comprehensive school students as active citizens of cohesive society and will ensure a high level on country-specific, lingua country-specific, sociocultural, and civic knowledge and skills of comprehensive school students. According to the results of the experiment, the number of respondents with a high level of intercultural competence in experimental groups significantly increased by 19.5%, on average 25.75% at the beginning of the experiment, 45.25% at the end. At the same time, the number of students with a low level of intercultural competence significantly decreased in experimental group by 29.75%, 42% at the beginning of the experiment, 12.25% after its completion. In the control group, there were no significant quantitative and qualitative changes in the dynamics of the levels of formation of students' intercultural competence. At the same time, the dissertation materials do not cover all issues of the researched problem. We see the prospect of its further development in the creation of a holistic concept of the formation of intercultural competence of students as active citizens of a cohesive society at all stages of learning foreign language in comprehensive schools. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Alona Mikhailivna, for such a report. Let's move on the questions. Dear council members, who has a question for the applicant? Please. Оксана Адольфівна.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the floor. I've got two questions, if I can, if I may. The first one is, could you provide information on the cultural capsule technique used for enhancing students' motivation towards acquiring intercultural competence? And after you have answered this one, I will ask another one.
All right. Dear Oksana Adolfovna, thank you very much for this question. So the cultural capsules method is a pedagogical approach used to promote intercultural competence among students by providing them the structured opportunities to explore and engage with diverse cultural perspectives in immersive manner. This method involves creating learning experience, or let's call them capsules, that encapsulate key elements of a particular culture or cultural theme, allowing students to delve deeply into the cultural context, traditions, customs, values, and practices. So talking about how does it work, we can say that at the beginning of this method, educators should identify specific cultural themes or topics that they want students to explore in depth. And this theme may relate to a particular country, or it could be a region, ethnic group, historical period, or cultural practices itself. Then educators gather a variety of cultural materials, resources, and artifacts related to the chosen theme. And also they may include some literature, music, films, food, basically whatever they could include in this, in this study. Then educators design a series of learning activities that immerse students in the selected cultural theme. And each capsule may consist of combination of lectures, discussions, some hands-on activities, some reading. They even can invite a guest speaker. Then students engage in this exploration of the cultural capsule. It's supposed to be guided by specific learning objectives and some questions, of course. So they examine and analyze cultural artifacts, discuss cultural practices and values, reflect on their own cultural perspectives. Then students need to give a feedback. So originally they just journal their reflection and participate in group discussions to present after that their findings to the class. After that, educators, they need to assess learning outcomes based on their engagement with the cultural capsules, depths of understanding of the cultural theme, critical thinking skills, intercultural communication abilities, ability to apply their learning to real-world context.
Yeah, thank you very much. I understand what it is about. Thank you. Well, and the next question is about more about Ukraine. It is about the English language curriculum for grades 10, 11. So now it's this traditional curriculum, though we all know that we are going to have the new one, but this is about the old one. Which topics included in the English language curriculum for grades 10, 11 would you recommend expanding and developing further to enhance students' intercultural competence as active citizens of a cohesive society?
Okay, thank you so much, Oksana Adolfovna, for this question as well. So basically the following broad program are included the English language curriculum for grades 10 and 11 and covers the topics such as My Family and I, sports, food, nature and environment, Ukraine and the world, and many others. Enhancing students' intercultural competence as active citizens of a cohesive society involves integrating various topics into the English language curriculum for grades 10, 11. And talking about recommendations, I would definitely include some cultural studies because incorporate units on cultural studies that explore the customs, traditions in general, values, belief system of various cultures around the world. This could involve studying cultural artifacts, rituals, festivals for different cultural practices, and integrate discussions on global issues like climate change or immigration, human rights, social justice. All these topics encourage students to analyze these issues from multiple cultural perspectives and engage in meaningful discussions on how they impact society, not just in their country, worldwide. So,
thank you very much. Let's hope that they will take into account all these things. Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much.
You're satisfied with the answer? Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Next questions.
Yes,
Mariana.
I have. Good afternoon, everyone. The question is to Alona. As your research aimed at defining the methodology of intercultural competence development while teaching English, my question is how your work, your research has contributed to the development of content of teaching English language and English culture in combination.
Thank you very much, Mariana Bogdanivna, for your question. So research on intercultural competence of school students as active citizens of cohesive society shows that in teaching English, it's really helpful to include things from the culture where English is spoken. This means students don't just learn the language, they also learn about people who speak this language. And when teaching English, it's great to use stuff like stories, history, customs from English-speaking places. And this makes learning richer and more interesting. Students get more engaged. So using real books, movies, news from English-speaking countries, it helps students understand how English is actually used in and what life is like there. So teaching English this way definitely would help students to get better at understanding and respecting different cultures. And they can learn how to communicate with people from those cultures with different backgrounds. It's good when students look at how their own culture is similar to or different from English-speaking countries, and it helps them to get people, to get them understand why sometimes people do things differently. And also doing projects together or activities about English-speaking cultures get students actively involved, and they can make presentations or do some research and then share all this. So definitely bringing culture into English teaching can make students not just better at English, but also we can prepare them to get ready to be a part of the world as active citizens of cohesive society.
Thank you. Thank you. And one more question. A distinctive feature of your work is applying a wide choice of wide range of methods and approaches, and among them communicative approach and person-oriented. Both of them are oriented to cooperation and collaboration. At the same time, you described such approach as critical incident method. And my question is, identify the problematic issues of teaching intercultural competence that can be solved by exactly that method, which is personally oriented.
Thank you very much for bringing this question. I do enjoy method of critical incidents because it's some sort of like training exercise used to help students learn how to handle, let's call them tricky situations that can happen when cultures clash. So if students from different cultures misunderstand each other, this method helps figure out why. So it might be because of different ways of thinking or acting, or some just other reasons are there. So once you know what's going wrong, you can find the way to fix it, like explaining things better or learn more about someone's culture. So sometimes these exercises show how stereotypes or unfair opinion can cause troubles. By looking at these situations, people can learn to see past their assumptions and be more open-minded and respectful. Because when people from different places try to talk, always lots of things can go wrong. And being overseas, all of us probably met some of these tricky situations. And this method helps, first of all, students to practice and improve, to see how would they communicate across these cultures, how would they behave, how would they solve these problems. And overall, the critical incident method provides participants with opportunity to engage and in reflective learning, in problem solving. And of course, it would be very beneficial on all stages of learning language.
Thank you.
Mariana Bogdanovna, satisfied with the answer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Totally.
Next question, I see the hand, Yulia Mikhailivna.
Thank you, Katerina Petrivna. Your dissertation study examines the influence of a student's intercultural competence on the development of the civic qualities, on his ability to live in a cohesive society. How does intercultural competence affect the development of patriotism, the ability to equate, defend one's patriotic position, to protect one's culture?
Thank you, Yulia Mikhailivna, for your question. So, intercultural competence as itself is all about recognizing and respecting how people do things differently in other cultures. If you are good at intercultural competence, you are open to other cultures. This openness help you better grasp what patriotism and cultural identity mean for you in your own life. Intercultural competence means you are more tolerant and you get where people from other cultures are coming from. This can reveal shared values that back up patriotism and lead to stronger bonds between different cultures. Being skilled in intercultural competence in general, it means you are ready to talk and you are ready to share ideas with people from other cultures. This can widen how you see patriotism, letting you appreciate different views and find common ground amidst diversity. In short, intercultural competence is super important for developing a sense of patriotism that includes defending your patriotic view, protecting your own culture, and living peacefully with others, even if they are different. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one more question. You call readiness for intercultural cultural interaction and intercultural communication one of the indicators of the activity behavioral criteria. How is intercultural communication defined in your research in the condition of a cohesive society?
Thank you, Yulia Mikhailivna, for your question. So, as I mentioned before, intercultural communication in cohesive society is when people from different cultures talk and shares ideas with each other. This can be through speaking, gestures, or body language, and it's about understanding and respecting each other's different ways of life. Being ready for this kind of communication means people are able and happy to talk and work together with those from different backgrounds. It's about having the skills and attitude to make these talks go well, smooth, and help everyone get along better in society. So people should be able to change, being flexible, adaptable, so to change how they talk or act to fit in with other cultural ways. They should be willing to learn and change so they can talk and work together better. In a cohesive society where everyone feels close and connected, being able to communicate across cultures is very important. And it's
Thank
not
you very
just
much.
about swapping. Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
very much.
Yulia Mikhailivna, are you satisfied with the answer? Yes. Thank you. Next question.
Let me finalize this round of questions. Dear Alona Mikhailovna, if you are not against, I've got two questions. The first one is about intercultural competence. In your research paper, in your dissertation paper, you investigated the issue of intercultural competence of learners as active citizens. Do you have your own authorized interpretation or definition of the concept of intercultural competence? I hope for a brief answer.
Yeah, I will try my best to make it short. Thank you very much for your question. Definitely, intercultural competence in the context of students as active citizens in a multinational cohesive society refers to the ability of individuals to effectively navigate and engage with cultural diversity, foster mutual understanding, and build positive relations across cultural boundaries. It encompasses a range of cognitive, affective, axiological, and behavioral skills, including cultural awareness, empathy, communication proficiency, flexibility. And this definition, I hope that highlights the multidimensional nature of intercultural competence and its significance in fostering active citizenship in social cohesion in diverse society, because it emphasizes the importance of developing cognitive, affective, axiological, and behavioral competence that enable individuals to engage meaningfully with cultural diversity and contribute to the building of cohesive communities.
Thank you, Alona Mikhailovna. And one more question. In your research, preference was given to collective and group classes in the choice of forms of educational activities. that contribute to the development of intercultural competence. What do you see as an advantage in choosing this exact form of educational activity?
Thank you, Olga Anatolievna, for this question as well. So the preferences for collective and group classes in the formation of intercultural competence offers several advantages in fostering interpersonal interaction and enhancing students' ability to navigate diverse cultural contexts. So talking about advantages, so I would highlight that when students from various backgrounds come together for group work, they learn how to cooperate and they learn how to share their ideas. In these classes, students get better at talking to and understanding people from different places because they learn how to handle cultural differences and value other views. By working closely with classmates who have different life stories and have different viewpoints, students can become more understanding, let's say, and caring, which is very important about where others are coming from. So these advantages, they contribute to the comprehensive development of students' intercultural competence as active citizens of cohesive society. Thank you.
Olga Anatolievna, you
Thank
satisfied?
you, Alona.
Answer?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm totally
Thank you.
satisfied.
Thank you, colleagues. I have questions. First, in the relevance of the research, you mentioned the process of globalization, but some scientists believe that the process of globalization undermines the root and origins of traditional and national culture in the process of transforming the world into a single homogeneous whole. How do you think this process affects the life of a multicultural cohesive society?
Thank you very much for your question, Katerina Petrievna. Definitely, globalization links countries more closely, which can be both good and bad for scientists that made up of different cultural groups. So some scientists say that it helps different people work together and accept each other, mixing cultures in new and positive ways. Others worry that globalization can wash away all the unique practices and make everything just too similar. But our studies suggest that how globalization affects a society's cultural identity and unity really depends on how well its people and its community, I'm talking about those who are good at interacting with different cultures. How do they deal with the complex mix of cultural influences while feeling a sense of togetherness? And supporting the preservation of culture, celebrating diversity, and including everyone socially can lessen the downsides of globalization. And encouraging conversations and respect among different cultural groups can also help keep society strong and together, because as we know, globalization presents new challenges every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm satisfied with the answers. My second question, the implementation of the third pedagogical condition in the US study involves the use of information and communication technologies in the process of forming intercultural competence. Explain in more details which methods you used and how information and communication technology influence their formation and development on students' intercultural competences.
Thank you, Katerina Petrievna, for this question as well. So definitely using technologies to improve how well students understand and interact with different cultures can be really effective. Students from all over the world, they can get together online for group work or cultural activities. They can chat, they can use video calls, they can do Zoom as we doing today. They can use social medias and just share their lives and work on projects together. So nowadays there are tons of online resources like virtual tours, documentaries, e-libraries, so they can check different traditions, stories, and histories whenever they want. So there are apps and websites where students can also learn new languages, which is super important for understanding other cultures. I also enjoy VR tool, virtual reality, where students can feel like they're really in different place. They can walk around, even try to touch things, and feel themselves like they are a real part of another culture. So talking about our research, I would like to highlight just the project that we had, which is called the Penpal project. Because originally the idea was let students from different parts of the world just to communicate via emails. We offered them the list of topics to cover through the project. But one day it was literally the idea that popped up in my head, and I was like, how cool would it be to let them see each other, first of all? So just to increase their motivation, let them see each other, let them prepare some virtual tours about their schools, let them show how do their classrooms look like, where do they have their lunch. So let them get in touch before they start chatting. And then we really noticed that the motivation in this case significantly increased. Of course, we faced some issues. We faced some issues with this language, let's call them boundaries, because it was complicated for them to speak out loud. As for all language learners, they think too much. Is the grammar correct? Is this word okay? How do I sound? So of course, we faced these difficulties. But in general, the project worked well, because I think that we decided to, match these two approaches with visual interaction and with this digital tool to let them chat via emails as they did.
Thank you, Elena.
you.
Mikhailivna, I am satisfied with the answer. Thank you, dear colleagues. What other question do you have? I don't see any raised hands. Okay. The council reviews feedback from opponents and reviews from reviewers, which were published on the time on the website on the Bogdan Khmelnytsky Melitopol State Pedagogical University, in accordance with the requirements of the resolution. I would like to mention that all feedback and reviews is positive. Therefore, I propose to proceed to the discussion of the present dissertation work. I would like to invite the official opponent, Doctor of Pedagogical Sciences, Professor of the Department of Foreign Language of Pavlo Tychyna Uman State Pedagogical University, Oksana Adolfina Zabolotna, to present her review for the dissertation. You're welcome.
Thank you, Katerina Petrovna. Well, dear colleagues, today I have the honor to discuss Alona Rudkovska's dissertation submitted for the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of education. And as an opponent, I would like to present a summarized version of the review, as its contents are publicly available on the university website. So, do you give me the possibility to do it in brief, in a nutshell?
Okay. Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Rudkovska's work is a significant and timely contribution to the field of education, particularly in today's globalized world where intercultural competence is increasingly paramount. The relevance of Alona Rudkovska's dissertation cannot be overstated, as it addresses the pressing need for fostering intercultural competence among school students. This need aligns with the priorities of international organizations such as the United Nations Organization, UNESCO, and Council in Europe, and other organizations, and reflects the educational reforms in Ukraine towards a more humanized and person-focused approach. The research is significant for its exploration of cultural approaches in education, both at the national and international levels, and fills the gap in the readiness of teachers and education system to nurture socially cohesive individuals. The definition of the research problem, its scope, and objectives are clearly articulated. The aim is to integrate citizenship education with English language learning to develop this competence. The research fills a critical gap between current educational practices and the need for individuals who are proficient in the intercultural communication and understanding. Alona Rudkovska's research is in line with the research programs and contributes to ones developed by Bogdan Khmelnytsky Melitopol State Pedagogical University. It has been approved by the University Academic Council. Particularly noteworthy is the dissertation's innovative approach to integrating intercultural competence into school education through English language learning. The scientific novelty of the research lies in its systematic organization of educational material of a country studies nature and the development of a didactic model of intercultural competence. The practical application of the research in educational institutions, its foundation on a comprehensive analysis of pedagogical, linguistic, and didactic literature, and the support of its results through experimental testing and a theoretical framework underscore its novelty and importance. In conclusion, Alona Rudkovska's dissertation is well-structured and comprehensively addresses the formation of intercultural competence in educational settings. Its content, style, and structure are commendable, providing a detailed exploration of the subject matter and culminating with conclusions that underscore the key findings and the implications of the research. This work is not only a significant academic contribution, but also a practical guide for educators seeking to cultivate a generation of culturally aware and socially cohesive citizens. While generally positive, evaluating the scientific and practical significance of the results obtained by the dissertation author, certain discussion points and comments should be highlighted, as well as some ways of improvement outlined. The chapter, The Essence of the Concepts, Culture and Intercultural Interaction, draws on a wide range of sources, including prominent educators and theories, which strengthens its arguments. However, some references, such as those to specific paradigms or models, could benefit from more recent studies to reflect ongoing developments in educational theory. The next one. The format of the list of references raises concerns because it does not adhere to any of the citation styles specified in regulatory documents for dissertations. Even if we consider this an attempt to comply with the DSTU 2015, it is unclear why the entire list is translated into English without preserving the original titles in Ukrainian or in transliteration. This approach may complicate the verification and search for cited sources, reduce accuracy of references, and potentially mislead readers regarding the primary sources of information. Next one. On page 57, the author mentions the analysis of a series of regulatory documents, describing them in a generalized manner without providing properly formatted references. This omission makes it unclear which specific documents were used as the basis for the analysis. Given that standards, curricula, and model programs can vary significantly by year, authorship, and other factors, the lack of precise citations raises concerns about the accuracy and verifiability of the information presented. Next one is about page 75, where Ms. Rudkovska presents what is termed as her definition of intercultural competence. However, the information provided more closely resembles a list of components associated with intercultural competence rather than an original definition crafted by the author. The outline elements represent fundamental aspects of the concepts, yes, but at the same time, they present a descriptive enumeration of key features rather than a concise, author-defined interpretation or synthesis. And also, a notable concern regarding the dissertation is that out of 277 cited sources, only 30 were published in the last 5 years, which raises questions about the research based for the dissertation. In rapidly evolving fields, reliance on up-to-date literature is crucial for capturing the latest developments, theories, and empirical findings. The limited number of recent sources could potentially limit the dissertation's engagement with current debates, methodologies, and findings in the field. And finally, upon reviewing the model presented in the dissertation, it has been noted that some components of the model are not fully expounded upon in the text. Without it, it is not clear enough what the rationale is behind the inclusion of these elements and the conclusions drawn by the author regarding their impact. For the model to be effective and for the dissertation to present a strong case, each component of the model should be clearly linked to specific findings or theoretical frameworks addressed in the research. This would provide a clearer understanding of the model's components and the role they play in achieving the overarching goal of their dissertation, which is the development of intercultural competence in comprehensive secondary school students as active citizens. However, the expressed remarks and discussion points do not negate the positive assessment of the scientific level of the dissertation work. So, it leads to the conclusion that on the basis of the conducted analysis, it can be concluded that in terms of its relevance, the significant amount of research carried out, scientific novelty, the reliability of the results obtained, the validity of the conclusions, the structure of the paper, the dissertation by Alona Rudkowska, formation of intercultural competence of school students as active citizens of cohesive society at the English lessons, submitted for a Doctor of Philosophy degree, field of study 01, education specialty 011, educational pedagogical sciences, meets the requirements of the legal document, current documents, and the author of the dissertation, Alona Rudkowska, deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the specialty 011, educational pedagogical sciences. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Oksana Adolfivna. For such a report on the dissertation of the applicant, the floor is given to Alona Mikhailovna to answer the discussion points and comments. You are welcome.
Dear Oksana Adolfivna, thank you for your insightful comments. And answering to the first remark, we have raised a valid point regarding the need for more recent studies to reflect ongoing developments in educational theory, particularly in relation to specific paradigms or models referenced in the chapter. Incorporating recent research can indeed enhance the comprehensiveness and relevance of the arguments presented. Today, considering the problem of intercultural interaction, modern scientists introduced the concept of transculturality. Indeed, contemporary empirical research confirms the fact that transculturality is now a general requirement for education. Of course, the goal of transcultural education is not to turn students into anthropologists or intercultural experts, but it is no less ambitious to cultivate a new way of seeing the world, understanding oneself and one's opportunities to participate in promoting a global culture of peace and substantiable development. In view of the above, we consider it necessary to indicate the most popular models of intercultural learning, namely the cultural shock model, the model of intercultural communicative competence of Michael Byram, the model of intercultural sensitivity of Michelle Bennett, and the integrated model of transcultural competence of Raymond. Therefore, intercultural and transcultural competence is now becoming a real challenge in the development of textbooks, as well as the actual implementation of intercultural learning in foreign language learning. Answering to the second remark, we would like to thank you for your valuable feedback regarding the list of references in the dissertation. According to the requirements, the list of references is compiled in the language of the dissertation according to the APA International Bibliographic Standard. This approach ensures consistency and coherence with the rest of the documents. We acknowledge the importance of your feedback and assure you that it will be also taken into consideration for our future projects or revisions. Answering to the third remark, we would like to thank you for your comment regarding the analysis of regulatory documents mentioned on the page 57 of the dissertation. Our research was based on consideration of the following normative documents: State Standard of Basic and Full General Secondary Education as amended in accordance with resolutions of the Cabinet of Ministers number 538 dated 07/08/2013 and number 143 dated 26/02/2020. Curricula in foreign languages for general comprehensive schools approved by the order of the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, dated 06/07/2017, number 804. Standard educational programs approved by the order of the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, dated April 20, 2018, number 405. Modal training programs recommended by the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, dated July 12, 2021, number 795. They take into account modern trends in the development of school foreign language education, meta-subject categories related to organizational, information, cognitive, communicative, emotional, axiological types of educational activities aimed at mastering linguistic aspects of communication and mechanism of foreign language communication in oral and written speech, to master the features of communicative behavior adopted in the countries of the studied language, to observe sociocultural norms of behavior in society, to use strategies in accordance with communication situation that ensure the success of intercultural interaction. Answering to the fourth remark, we would like to thank you for your comments regarding the presentation of intercultural competence on page 57 of the dissertation. We understand your viewpoint that the outlined elements more closely resemble a list of components associated with intercultural competence rather than concise author-defined interpretation or synthesis. However, the content presented on the page 57 has undergone thorough consideration and reflects a comprehensive understanding of the fundamental aspects associated with intercultural competence. Also, it may not align preciously with the concise author-defined interpretation or synthesis. The information provided offers valuable insights into the concept within the scope of the dissertation. Your feedback is valuable in enhancing the quality of the research, the quality of the dissertation, and we appreciate the opportunity to address your concern and formulate the definition of the intercultural competence, integrating the component we provided. Intercultural competence is the ability to navigate diverse cultural contexts by understanding, respecting, and effectively communicating across cultural differences while promoting tolerance and fostering harmonious cooperation and meaningful engagement across cultural boundaries. Answering to the fifth remark, we would like to thank you for your insightful comment regarding the distribution of cited sources in the dissertation. We appreciate your attention to detail and your concern about the relatively small proportion of recent sources cited. While we understand your perspective and acknowledge the importance of staying current with developments, theories, and empirical findings in rapidly evolving fields, we would like to provide some context regarding the selection of sources of this dissertation. The research base of this dissertation was constructed with careful consideration of both historical and contemporary literature related to the topic. The conclusion is of a variety of sources spanning several years was intentional to provide a comprehensive overview of the field and to contextualize the research within a broader historical and theoretical framework. While the proportion of recent sources may appear limited, it is essential to note that many foundational works and theoretical frameworks in the field have been established over several decades and continue to provide valuable insights and frameworks for understanding current debates and methodologies. However, we recognize the importance of engaging with current debates, methodologies, and finding in the field. Your feedback is valuable in improving the quality and relevance of the dissertation. Thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. Answering to the sixth remark, we would like to thank you for your insightful comment regarding the model presented in the dissertation. We appreciate your attention to detail and your perspective on the clarity and linkage of the model's components of specific finding or theoretical frameworks addresses in the research. We acknowledge the importance of clearly expounding upon each component of the model and establishing a strong rationale for their inclusion. It is essential for the model to effectively support the overarching goal of developing intercultural competence in comprehensive secondary school students as active citizens. In our report, we have expanded the model in order to make it more indicative. The goal of developing skills necessary for perception, interpretation, and use of foreign language according to cultural and social context is extensively discussed in Chapter 2. This chapter delves into the importance of language proficiency within specific cultural and social frameworks and highlighting its role in fostering intercultural competence among secondary school students. Chapter 3 provides an in-depth analysis of the pedagogical strategies, forms, methods, and tools utilized to facilitate the development of language skills in diverse cultural and social contexts. It discusses various intercultural approaches, teaching materials, and educational technologies employed to support language learning and enhance intercultural understanding. The dissertation provides a comprehensive analysis of how these components collectively contribute to the overarching goal of developing intercultural competence among secondary school students. Overall, the model presents a structured approach to achieving the goal of developing intercultural competence through language learning in secondary school education. It underscores the importance of pedagogical strategies, cultural sensitivity, and the integration of language skills within specific social and cultural contexts to promote active citizenship and cohesion in society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elena Mikhailivna, for the answers. Oksana Adolfina, are you satisfied with the answer of the
Yeah, I should be even happy after listening to such a long lecture on what I should know and what is essential to know and what is written in the dissertation, though I have read it through. Thank you very much, but the answers should have been a little bit shorter and to the point. Thank you very much.
I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you. Its floor is given to the official opponent, candidate of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor of the Department of Intercultural Communication and Social and Humanitarian Disciplines of Dnipro Humanitarian University, Natsiuk Mariana Bogdanivna. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. It's my pleasure to present review on the dissertation done by Alona Rutkowska, and I'm going to focus on the main points. The relevance of the dissertation topic and research means that dissertation addresses a highly relevant issue of the formation of school students' intercultural competence and fostering active citizenship in a cohesive society through English lessons. The significance of the research is undeniable, particularly in our increasingly multilingual and multicultural world, where individuals must communicate across cultural boundaries, understand diverse cultural aspects, and manage conflicts arising from cultural differences. This need has been further amplified by the recent appalling events, which has led to significant Ukrainian migration and unpredictable changes in the educational landscape. One notable aspect is the cultural adaptation process of Ukrainian school children and the expected shift in their cultural attitudes upon their return to Ukraine. In this light, cultural education is viewed as mandatory and as a sign of high intellectual and cultural development. Moreover, culturally aware Ukrainian school children are essential for active participation in the state and community building and rebuilding. As the analyzed scientific work proves, such school children's qualities as active position, cultural awareness, tolerance, responsibility, democratic attitudes should be of special focus for educators. Therefore, examining these issues from both theoretical and practical perspectives is vital for contemporary Ukrainian pedagogy. In the introduction to the thesis paper, the author effectively underscores the relevance of this topic, highlighting the importance of intercultural competence within the framework of modern educational programs and civic educational initiatives. The research problem is clearly defined with a comprehensive scope and well-defined objectives. The author considers research and experimental work on the development of school children intercultural competence, aiming at educating them as active citizens in cohesive society. This goal is pursued through 7 well-structured objectives outlined in the introduction, providing a clear roadmap for the researcher. The completion of these objectives has yielded significant insights. The author has thoroughly analyzed the key concepts from a wide range of perspectives. Significant achievements include the grounded analysis of the term educational paradigm and competence, and the distinction between model, technology, and system. The concepts of a citizen and civic education have been profoundly analyzed, tracing their origins from ancient Greek philosophy through the Roman perspective, Enlightenment ideals, and the transition of Ukrainian philosophical and educational positions across historical periods. Additionally, the concept of communication, including its characteristics and type, is well developed. The analysis of communicative competence is particularly profound, resulting in the presentation of an original and well-developed model. Determining the definition and structure of intercultural competence is both a cornerstone and a formidable challenge of this work. The exploration of intercultural competence led to the identification of its components, their detailed description, and the design of a model for developing active citizens. The connection of the research with the scientific programs, plans, and topics is well presented. The author exhibits a comprehensive understanding of the legislative background, detailing documents that advocate intercultural movement in Ukraine, referencing numerous documents integral to the development of intercultural competence. The author demonstrates awareness of current educational projects, among which I would like to mention Intercultural Cities, Education for Democracy in Ukraine, and the project, the PenPal project, which is significant for the work. The author's significant contribution to both knowledge and practical applications are undeniable. The dissertation presents reliable and novel findings with several noteworthy contributions that deserve special recognition. Firstly, this is interdisciplinary approach. Alyona Rudkovska's most remarkable contribution is applying this interdisciplinary approach to enhance students' intercultural skills and promote active citizenship. Within this framework, the author has analyzed textbooks across various school subjects, has systemized for the first time education materials of a country study nature. This includes substantiation of the content of inter-subject connection of the discipline English language with others, and their role in fostering the intercultural competence of school students. The second one is wide range of approaches and methods. The choice of communicative approach aligns with contemporary trends in foreign language teaching. The personally oriented approach proves beneficial both for implementing civic education and developing students' intercultural competence. The dissertation thoroughly discusses and recommends various methods for developing intercultural competence. Model of communicative competence, an outstanding feature of the dissertation. The originality of the model and robust foundation of its constituents stand out as key strengths. Model of intercultural competence. The dissertation contributes significantly by designing the model for the process of shaping intercultural competence among comprehensive school students as active members of cohesive society. This model's practical significance lies in its content and structure, which were established through a rigorous analysis of various educational aspects. Such factors as students' psychological growth, needs, motivation, the definition of an intercultural competence, civic competence structure, recent pedagogical and methodological findings, and the identification of precise knowledge, skills, and abilities contributed to building the model of intercultural competence. Practical contribution and school collaboration is another significant benefit of the work. Practical impact is prominently demonstrated through collaboration with schools such as Gymnasium and the project, the PenPal project. Content analysis and structure of the text concerned, the research works is logical and coherent. The author navigates through various educational paradigm concepts and historical perspectives, providing a comprehensive understanding of intercultural competence from pedagogical, psychological, social, and methodological angles. Despite the benefits of the work presented, we are going to discuss some areas for improvement. The first one is the concept analysis. While the research work demonstrates a profound analysis of terminology, it overlooks certain essential concepts. For instance, the term culture remains inadequately defined, though it has over 200 different definitions from various perspectives and fields of study. The single definition found on page 35 may not suffice, given that such a global concept requires deeper exploration. Second one, terminology inconsistency. The terms inconsistency have been observed throughout the dissertation. For example, it's unclear whether the author refers to a cultured person or a cultural person, pages 33-34. Similarly, the terms personally oriented educational paradigm and personality oriented educational paradigm are used interchangeably, page 40. Defining intercultural competence. The assertion that intercultural competence is not sufficiently developed in scientific literature can only be partially agreed upon. The concept of intercultural competence indeed evolves and acquires new meanings over time. However, the dissertation fails to consider Michael Byram's model of intercultural competence, which could significantly contribute to the research objectives. Furthermore, incorporating the perspectives of intercultural competence from the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, Learning, Teaching, Assessment, CFR, of both versions, 2001 and 2020 editions, would definitely enhance the understanding and presentation of these competences. The mentioned inconsistency do not undermine the novelty and significance of the work. As the conclusion, the author skillfully merged the objective of developing students' intercultural competence, which primarily involves communication with individuals from foreign countries, with the goal of she emerges with the goal of nurturing students' active citizenship, which is centered around engaging their native heritage, domestic interaction, problem solving with their own culture. The common foundation for this similarly divergent process was identified as the cultivation of respect, tolerance, responsibility, all of which are equally crucial for both inner and outer forms of communication. On the basis of conducted analysis, it can be concluded that in terms of its relevance, significant amount of research carried out, scientific novelty, the reliability of the results obtained, the validity of the conclusions, the structure of the paper, the dissertation by Alona Rudkowska, formation of intercultural competence of school students as active citizens of cohesive society at the English lessons submitted for a Doctor of Philosophy degree, field of study 01, education specialty 011, educational pedagogical sciences, meets the requirements of the procedure for awarding the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and canceling the decisions of the one-time specialized academic council of the Institution of Higher Education, scientific institution on awarding the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, approved by resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine dated January 12, 2022, number 44. The author of the dissertation, Alona Rudkowska, deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the specialty 011, Educational Pedagogical Sciences.
Thank you, Mariana Bogdanivna, for such a report of the dissertation of our applicant. The floor is given to Alona Mikhailovna to answer the remarks, please.
Dear Mariana Bogdanivna, thank you very much for your comment regarding the concept analysis in our research work. We appreciate your feedback and acknowledge the importance of providing a comprehensive and nuanced understanding of key concepts, including the term culture. Indeed, culture is a complex and multifaceted concept with various definitions stemming from different perspectives and field of study. We recognize that our current definition of culture on page 35 may not fully capture the depth and breadth of this global concept. But in our research, we try to highlight the complexities and nuances inherent in the concept of culture, including its dynamic nature, diversity across different cultural contexts, and its role in shaping individuals' identities, behaviors, and interaction within society. To enhance the clarity and depth of our discussion, as well as to offer a comprehensive understanding of how this concept is conceptualized within the context of our research, we give the following definition. Culture in the context of our research. Culture refers to the collective beliefs, values, customs, and behaviors shared by a group of individuals within a particular society. This includes aspects such as language, traditions, rituals, social norms, and cultural expressions. Furthermore, culture encompasses the complex interplay of various elements that shape individuals' identities, perception, and interaction within diverse social contexts. Answering to the second remark, we appreciate your feedback and recognize the importance of ensuring consistency and clarity in the use of terms and terminology throughout our research work. In our research, we consider it a cultural person who possesses awareness of his own worldview, position in the world, and role as an active advocate for possession society attitudes, continually enhancing his knowledge based on expressing it effectively in various social interactions, appreciates, understands, preserves, and enhances the beauty and diversity of the world, seeing himself as part of humanity in the broader context of life, striving for spiritual growth through embracing universal human values such as kindness, love, loyalty, and responsibility, while also promoting a healthy lifestyle, adapts his behavior, language, and work activities in alignment with the norms and imperatives detected by the historical stage of social development. As to the personally oriented educational paradigm and personally oriented educational paradigm, we think that while both terms involve aspects of individuality or personalization, they can be interchangeable, but they emphasize different aspects. Personally oriented focus on the individual presences or needs, while personally oriented emphasizes the individual's personality traits or characteristics. Answering to the third remark, we appreciate your insight in the involving nature of the concept and the importance of considering influential model and frameworks in our research. Regarding Byram model of intercultural competence, we acknowledge its significance in the field of intercultural communication and recognize its potential contribution to our research objectives as we analyze some Byram's works, teaching and learning language and culture, teaching and assessing intercultural communicative competence, developing the intercultural dimension in language teaching. Byram's model, which emphasizes attitude, skills, and knowledge necessary for effective intercultural communication, would indeed enhance our understanding and analysis of intercultural competence within the context of our study. Additionally, your suggestion to incorporate perspectives of intercultural competence from the Common European Framework of Reference for Language in both its 2001 and 2020 editions is well noted. The CEFR serves as a foundational document for language education and assessment across Europe, providing valuable insights into the development of intercultural competence in the context of foreign language teaching and learning. In our research, we considered recommendation of the Committee on Education of the Council of Europe on teaching foreign languages. This recommendation issued by the Council of Europe serves as a valuable guideline for teaching foreign language and likely contains insights and principles that are patient to our research topic, particularly regarding the development of intercultural competence and effective language teaching methodologies. By incorporating this recommendation into our research, we're demonstrating a commitment of utilizing authoritative and influential sources to inform our analysis and strengthen the theoretical framework of our study. Thank you.
Thank you, Alona Mikhailivna, for your answer. Mariana Bogdanivna, are you satisfied with the answer of the applicant? Thank you. Let's continue, dear colleagues. The floor is given to the reviewer, Doctor of Pedagogical Science, Professor of the Department of Primary and Special Education of Богдан Хмельницький Melitopol State Pedagogical University, Шевченко Юлія Михайлівна. Please.
Thank you, Katerina Petrovna. The new life realities of the 21st century, the demands of democratization and the development of a free competitive society in Ukraine dictate the need to train school graduates who are able to be aware of their belonging to the Ukrainian people. Modern European civilization oriented in the realities and perspectives of a constantly changing world. which as a result will contribute to a successful implementation of tasks of Ukrainians, cooperation with Europe and the whole world. Under these conditions, the role of intercultural communication increases significantly, particularly in the concept of learning a foreign language. The formation of intercultural competence ensures students' mastery of the spiritual heritage of the Ukrainian people, the formation of a worldview and national consciousness, general cultural values, and moral and ethical norms of behavior in society. The topic of the dissertation research of Alona Rudkovska should be considered modern and relevant. Its solution is definitely of great theoretical and practical importance. It is interesting to consider some concepts, for example, cultural interaction, competence, active citizen, cohesive society, and historical aspect. On the basis of the conducted analysis, the researcher manages to single out and systematize the most important generic features of culture, existing definition of competence. The author merit is the analysis of curricula and current textbooks and the selection of intercultural information of the disciplines taught at school to substantiate the interdisciplinary approach to the formation of intercultural competence, as well as the outline of the role and function of the discipline foreign language in the formation of intercultural competence of school students. The great importance of the author's scientifically based structure of intercultural competence of school students of a cohesive society lies in the fact that it meets the real requirements of educational in Ukraine and the real possibilities of mastering this type of competence in the process of learning a foreign language. The criteria and indicators of students' mastery of intercultural competence and 3 levels of its formation indicates by the author testify to the author the good knowledge of the relevant literature on the problem and seem to us to be quite legitimate. The advantage of the study is the model of the process of formation of students' intercultural competence developed by the author, which is a certain guideline for improving the educational process. The third section is distinguished by the careful depth and purposefulness of the development of questions related to the experimental verification of the effectiveness of the model of the formation of intercultural competence of school students as active citizens of cohesive society. The author described the experimental research program from a scientific point of view and performed an analysis of the result of the ascertainment stage of the experiment. This testifies to the author's scientific consciousness manifested in the process of organizing an experimental study. In convinces of the thoroughness and purity of the experiment, the clarity of recording its results, and create confidence in the validity of the obtained data. The advantages of this section are also evidenced by the forms and methods of work proposed by the author and ensuring the effectiveness of the process of forming the intercultural competence of students as active citizens of a cohesive society. At the same time, as in any work, the dissertation of Alona Rudkovska has certain remarks that require clarification. When describing the forms and methods of the technology for the formation of intercultural competence, the researcher develop interesting communicative tasks. In this regard, in my opinion, it would be appropriate to define the concepts of communication and intercultural communication, and also provide the author definition of the concept of intercultural competence in connection with the consideration of this concept within the bounds of a cohesive society. Presenting the methods of forming students' intercultural competence, they also talks about the development of self-awareness and tolerance. The work had benefited if the dissertation had explained this concept more descriptively. The above comment and wishes do not in any way reduce the benefit of the work. Alona Rudkowska presents a serious and interesting study which has both indisputable theoretical and practical significance. The work meets the requirement of the procedure for awarding the degree of Doctor of Philosophy approved by the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, and also of the dissertation deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of the Philosophy in the specialty 011 Educational Pedagogical Sciences. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Yulia Mikhailina, for your report on the dissertation of the applicant. The floor is given to Alona Mikhailina to answer the remark. You're welcome.
Yulia Mikhailivna, thank you very much for your remarks, and answering to the first one, I would like to thank you for your comment, and we consider this remark to be important. We have clarified the concepts of communication and intercultural communication in the text of the dissertation and provided an original definition of the concept of intercultural competence in relation to the consideration of this concept within a cohesive society, namely intercultural competence of active citizens of cohesive society indicates the ability of individuals to be effective in intercultural interaction within the unity and community of society. This concept encompasses the understanding and acceptance of cultural diversity, religions, languages, traditions, and other aspects of socio-cultural diversity. Intercultural competence includes communication skills and collaboration with representatives of different cultures, the ability to consider and respect differences, as well as the ability to effectively resolve conflicts arising from cultural belief differences. An important part of intercultural competence is also the awareness of one's own cultural identity and openness to learning from other cultures. Active citizens of a cohesive society possess this competence to facilitate mutual understanding, interaction, and cooperation in a diverse society, thereby promoting the construction of unity and harmony. We are thankful for the rest of your remarks, and we will take them into account. Thank you.
Thank you, Alona Mikhailina, for the answers. Yulia Mikhailivna, are you satisfied with the answer of Alona Rudkowska?
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, okay. The floor is given to the reviewer, candidate of Pedagogical Sciences, Associate Professor of the Department of Germanic Language Teaching Methodology of Bogdan Khmelnytsky Melitopol State Pedagogical University, Olga Anatolievna Goncharova, please.
Thank you, Katerina Petrovna. Dear Head of the Academic Council, dear members, dear applicant, let me present the review on Alona Rudkowska's dissertation in brief, because the full version is available at the university website.
Yes.
So as a result of the intensification of migration and immigration processes, the acceleration of Ukraine's integration into European Union, which rose as a result of Russia's terrorist aggression against Ukraine, the issues of intercultural communication are becoming more and more vital. The low level of intercultural competence of individuals hinders effective communication between representatives of different cultures. It leads to conflicts, destroys intercultural interaction, and makes it impossible for the individuals to be fully aware of both their own and other people's culture. This situation, in our opinion, can result in an aggravation of global problems, inter-ethnic and interfaith conflicts. Thus, the relevance of the dissertation topic is beyond doubt, as modern education forces secondary school teachers to create appropriate conditions for the development of students' intercultural competence. The content of dissertation is characterized by the logic of scientific research, and its author, Alona Rudkovska, has the ability to identify cause and effect relationships between the elements of the system under study. The author demonstrates a high degree of validity and reliability of the research results, which is achieved due to the methodological and theoretical validity of the initial positions of the study. The author of the dissertation has properly selected and efficiently applied the relevant scientific methods, consisting of general scientific methods such as analysis, synthesis, comparison, systematization, generalization, and specific scientific methods, namely search and bibliographic method, retrospective method, content analysis, and terminological analytical method. It has to be mentioned that all these methods of scientific research have contributed to obtaining reliable research outcomes. The dissertation has a logically substantiated structure. It consists of an introduction, 3 chapters, conclusions, references, and appendices. All dissertation components are characterized by logical consistency, thoughtfulness, and balance. As a result, such kind of the approach to the scientific research has a positive impact on the successful achievement of main research outcomes. The conclusions describe the most important scientific and practical results obtained in the scientific work and contain the formulation of the scientific problem under study, its significance for science and practice. The sequence of conclusions is determined by the logic of the study. This specifies not only its scientific novelty and theoretical significance, which follow from final results, but also the practical value, practical proposals for scientific use of the results, which come up from the scope of the work. Along with the mentioned above positive aspects, the reviewed scientific work contains certain points which might be disputable from our point of view. Namely, in the subsection 1.1, the author gives a detailed analysis of the modern domestic and foreign scholars' definitions of such concepts as culture and intercultural interaction. We believe that it would be desirable to accompany these ideas with author's own vision of these concepts, since they are central to this study. In our opinion, it would be important for this research to analyze normative documents that regulate the functioning of education, including foreign language education in Ukraine, namely the state standard, the educational programs, and model foreign language program, with special attention to the fact how these documents interpret the concept of intercultural competence, subsection 1.2. For more modern interpretation of the term active citizens, subsection 1.3, we consider it appropriate to recommend analyzing the British Council's Active Citizens Programme for Youth in the field of intercultural dialogue and social development, which was being implemented from 2009 till 2021 in more than 78 countries. In subsection 3.1, when citing examples of numerous documents dealing with Melitopol's intercultural development programs, it is worth mentioning the powerful steps being taken today to strengthen intercultural ties, to keep strategic planning of this work going after the occupation of the city and the region. Such a powerful work on strengthening intercultural relations will undoubtedly have positive impact on the formation of intercultural competence of students of general secondary education institutions in Melitopol region and Ukraine as well. We believe that mentioned above disputable issues and comments do not diminish the overall positive impression of the dissertation. The review of the dissertation has shown that research relevance, clearly formulated aim, objectives, and outcomes, deep analysis of a significant number of scientific works, scientific novelty, practical vitality, carefully chosen research methods, reliability of the results obtained, logical structure of the paper make it possible to conclude that the dissertation done by Alona Rudkowska, Formation of Intercultural Competence of School Students as Active Citizens of the Cohesive Society at the English Lessons, submitted for a Doctor of Philosophy degree in the field of study 01 Education Specialty 011 Educational Pedagogical Sciences, meets the requirements of the procedure for awarding the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and cancelling the decision of the one-time Specialized Academic Council of the Institution of Higher Education, Scientific Institution on awarding the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, approved by the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, number 44. And the author of the dissertation, Alona Rudkowska, deserves to be awarded with the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the specialty 011 Educational Pedagogical Sciences. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Olga Anatolievna. The answers, the remarks, the floor is given to Alona Mikhailovna.
Thank you, Olga Anatolievna. Thank you for your comments regarding subsection 3.1 of our research. We appreciate your suggestion to highlight the importance of continuing and strengthening intercultural ties and strategic planning for intercultural development programs in Melitopol and the region, particularly in the context of post-occupation efforts. Indeed, the ongoing efforts to strengthen intercultural relations in Melitopol and the region are crucial for fostering a more inclusive and cohesive society, which in turn will have a positive impact on the formation of intercultural competence among students in general secondary education institutions, not only in Melitopol, but also across Ukraine. We also emphasize the significance of sustaining and expanding these intercultural development programs beyond the deoccupation period to ensure long-term positive outcomes for the community, including the continued development of intercultural competence among students. By acknowledging and highlighting the importance of ongoing efforts to strengthen intercultural ties and strategic planning in this regard, we aim to contribute to the broader discussion on promoting intercultural understanding and cooperation in post-war contexts. Today, Melitopol is part of the national network of the Intercultural Cities of Ukraine ICCUA program. Among the plans of the members of the ICCUA network is to not stop to look for new ways of cooperation, to spread information in Europe about the situation in Ukraine, which today was weapon in hand with incredible losses, defense with the will, civil rights and freedoms. The program will contribute to the implementation of the Language Front project, which includes also the study of English for effective intercultural communication and the successful restoration of cities that have undergone occupation. Thank you once again for bringing attention to this very important aspect. And thank you for the rest of your remarks. We will take them into account. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Alona
Alona
Mikhailovna.
for taking into account all the remarks.
Olga Anatolievna, are you satisfied with the answers, Alona Rudkowska?
Yes, I am
Yeah.
satisfied.
Thank you. As a head of the Specialized Council, I, Katerina Petrovna Osacha, Doctor of Pedagogical Science, Professor of the Department of Computer Science or Cybernetics of Bogdan Khmelnytsky Melitopol State Pedagogical University, also want to discuss the dissertation. The results of Alona Mikhailovna Rudkowska's dissertation correspond to modern requirements to the scientific research of the type. The fact that the research comprises the peculiarities of multilingual and polycultural education and the issue of development of citizenship also confirm the relevance and value of her work. The dissertation work in Alona Rudkowska has both theoretical and practical value. The work presents a model of the process of formation of intercultural competence of high school students as active citizens of a cohesive society for increasing the effectiveness of foreign language learning, creating pedagogical conditions for the formation of the active public position in comprehensive school students, a tolerant attitude towards representative of another culture as a relevant and important factor for modern historical and social and economic living conditions as the aim of learning a foreign language. The recommendations formulated in the research work as can be used when drawing up in educational programs, curricula, preparing course books for all foreign languages studied in comprehensive school in Ukrainian and beyond its borders, as well as when selecting texts for use in foreign language lessons. I consider the dissertation the practically valuable research paper which meet all the requirements, and the author has the right of obtaining the PhD degree. Dear colleagues, we are moving on to the next stage of our meeting. Presently, the members of the council must speak of the evaluation of the scientific level of the dissertation and scientific publications, taking into account the observance and academic integrity, establishing the level of acquisition of theoretical knowledge, relevant abilities, skills, and competence by the applicant. It is suggested that speech should be made in the order: opponent first, then reviewers. Oksana Adolfovna, you are welcome.
Thank you very much. Well, as an official opponent, I would like to admit that their dissertation is notably relevant in today's globalized world, where intercultural competence and conflict resolution are essential for fostering social cohesion and understanding across diverse societies. The work on the dissertation is a good learning point, as the author should use a broad set of methods to analyze, create, and apply. There are no perfect pieces of work. All kinds of research leave something to be desired. Sometimes it's essential to acknowledge inaccuracies to open up opportunities for further development. With this in mind, I would like to summarize that I will support Alena Rudkovska with her research, as she has contributed to building a cohesive society in our increasingly interconnected world. So this is what I think about the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Taking into account that the topic of the dissertation is relevant, significant, and novel, and it shows the significance of today's world, and it responds to the requirements of today's world. The analysis of the material is done thoroughly and detailed. The conclusions which Alena Rudkovska has drawn are permanent, and the experiment has been thoroughly done. I definitely support the dissertation and would consider it to be important for Ukrainian education.
Thank you. Next, please, Olga Anatolievna.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to mention that the components of Alena Rudkovska's dissertation are characterized by logical consistency. We can also pay attention to the scientific methods which were chosen for the dissertation research and successful achievement of main research outcomes. That is why I would like to support Alena, and I think that the author of this dissertation, Alena Rudkovska, deserves to be awarded with the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please, Yulia Mikhailovna.
Thank you. Katerina Petrovna, dear colleagues, during voting, I will definitely support this work. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to take the floor. Dear colleagues, I would like to note that Alena Rudkovska has had all the necessary competences of a researcher, The applicant has vividly presented the result of her research, adhered to the principle of academic integrity, and has significant scientific achievements indicated in publications included in leading professional journals. Therefore, during voting, I will definitely support this work. The final floor is given to the applicant, Alona Mikhailovna. You are welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to express my thanks. I'm deeply grateful to the one-time Special Aid Scientific Council for your invaluable feedback and expertise, which have significantly enhanced my dissertation. I would like to say thank you to my mentor for her guidance and belief in my abilities that have been a beacon throughout this journey. Of course, to my family, it deserves my deepest thanks for their unwavering support and love. And thank you, everyone who was involved, for support. Really appreciate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Шановні колеги, далі продовжуємо наше засідання українською мовою. Перед тим, як перейти до голосування, хочу узгодити з вами певні нюанси, пов'язані з проєктом рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради про присудження доктора філософії Рудковській Альоні Михайлівні. Проєкт рішення містить інформацію про здобувачку, перелік публікацій здобувачки, відомості про членів разової спеціалізованої вченої ради, інформацію про голосування. Шановні колеги, чи є у вас якісь зауваження, запитання, доповнення чи пропозиції, які впливають на оцінку роботи та потребують внесення до рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради щодо присудження доктора філософії Рудковській Альоні Михайлівні? Якщо зауваження, запитання, доповнення чи пропозиції відсутні, то переходимо до процедури голосування. Рада приймає рішення шляхом відкритого голосування. Голосують всі члени разової спеціалізованої вченої ради. Колеги, хто за те, щоб присвоїти Рудковській Альоні Михайлівні науковий ступінь доктора філософії з галузі знань, освіта, педагогіка, спеціальності 011, освітні педагогічні науки, прошу підняти руки, щоб добре було видно на екрані. Хто за? Хто проти? Немає. Хто утримався? Немає. Рішення прийнято одноголосно. Дозвольте оголосити рішення спеціалізованої вченої ради про присудження ступеня доктора філософії Рудковській Альоні Михайлівні. На підставі результатів відкритого голосування та прийнятого рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради від 19 лютого 2024 року Мелітопольського державного педагогічного університету імені Богдана Хмельницького та згідно вимог порядку присудження ступеня доктора філософії та скасування рішення разової спеціалізованої вченої ради закладу вищої освіти наукової установи про присудження ступеня доктора філософії, затвердженого постановою Кабінету міністрів України від 12 січня 2022 року номер 44, разова спеціалізована вчена рада присуджує Рудковській Альоні Михайлівні науковий ступінь доктора філософії з галузі знань, освіта, педагогіка, спеціальності 011, освітні педагогічні науки. Вітаємо здобувачку.
Щиро дякую.
Шановні колеги, усім дякую за роботу, за позитивний результат. На цьому засідання нашої спеціалізованої разової вченої ради оголошую закритим. Дякую всім.
Дякую.
Дякуємо. Дякуємо сердечно, шановні колеги.
Дякую, до побачення.
До побачення.
До побачення.
Дякую вам велике.
Запит